Alright guys, part two. I'm sure that everyone is just on the edge of their seat with these exciting videos. But anyway, I have found a handle, and seems to be a pretty good one. Of course, it's a hickory handle. A couple things I don't like about it. You can see where the wedge goes in the end of it there. The cut is not exactly in the center. It's pretty close, probably closer than the last handle I did. Not exact. The grain orientation in this handle, I don't know if you can tell, is a little bit at an angle, but it's tolerable. It's not straight up and down. You can barely see it there, a little bit angled. But anyway, we're going to start preparing this handle. You do want that grain straight up and down, and you want to be able to look down the handle and watch that grain follow that handle. And this one does. It shoots right straight down the handle, and that's a pretty straight handle. One thing I like about it, usually when they're a little bit bigger on the end, that's kind of a sign that the maker takes a little more pride in it, because they had to start with a bigger piece of wood and go down, which if someone's trying to save money and scrimp a little bit, you won't have that bigger end on the end of the handle. So that's a little bit of a sign that it's a little better handle than normal. But the first thing that we're going to do, and that I do with any handle, is get this varnish off of it. If you've been watching our greenhouse videos from way back in the spring, I did a video on a hoe that I had and told about how to take care of your handles in that video. And so the first thing I'll do is I'll scrape this off. And I do that with an old hoof trimmer, just because that's what I have. It works pretty good. The reason I do it, I get that varnish off of there because it causes, you're more apt to get blisters because it's so hard, and it's hard on your hands. And I just like the feel of it a whole lot better with it off of there. So that's the first thing I'll do here, is get rid of that. Okay, so we just take the old scraper and just work that off of there. It's a little bit tedious, but it kind of gets the grain on that wood opened up, and I like to apply oil to the wood when I get done, and just has a lot better feel, and it'll help it to last a lot longer. There's some other advantages also, but you can kind of see it just kind of flakes off there. I've tried sanding it, and sanding doesn't seem to do quite as good of a job as taking a sharp knife and just kind of taking that outside edge off, or the outside surface, I mean. But you wouldn't believe the different feel that wood has when you get that off of there. It's just a lot more comfortable. But anyway, we're going to work at this a while, and when we move on to something else, I'll turn the video back on there, and we'll go from there. Okay, guys, I got all the lacquer taken off of it. Got a real nice smooth finish on there. I usually don't go over it with sandpaper and get it really smooth. There's just really no need of that, because I'll oil it later, and seems like it takes that oil a little bit better. All right, we're going to start putting this head on this axe. As you can see, it doesn't go on there very far, so I've got a little bit of work to do to get it to fit up. You can see it back in there. It just will barely go in there. So what I'm going to have to do, and what I've found that works best for me, is I'll use a farrier's rasp. And that's a farrier's rasp right there. I'll use the smooth. It has a smooth and a more aggressive, two different sides, but I'll use the smooth side. And what I'm going to have to do is just put this on there, and you can usually see where the axe is touching. It's a little bit dirty there, and you'll see where you need to start working. And I'll just take that down a little bit at a time until it'll fit up right. But now on a double bit axe, Normally one side is a little narrower and sharper, that's used for like cutting wood. The other side is a little more blunt, better for splitting. Kind of the side that you'll beat up on, you know. This side you want to kind of protect. So when you're fitting this head on this handle, you want to be sure and try it on the same way every time. So I have the label or the name of the axe here stamped in it. So I will have that to go by so that I make sure that I put it on the handle the same way every time. If you don't have that, you'll need to make some kind of a mark here on the head, and it'll really help you out as far as fitting it up. You want to try it on the same way each time. So we're going to start rasping this down, and hopefully in this video we can get this thing on there, and I'll kind of go back and forth with the video to kind of show you the progress. Something I will do in my vise, I'll put a couple pieces of cardboard or wood or something to keep it from damaging the handle, where you have to clamp it down pretty tight. But you have to be very careful when you're working this down as not to take too much off, because you can't put it back. So you just have to kind of just work with it a little bit. Try the head, and this is kind of a slow, long process. Just a lot of trial and error, and eventually she'll fit up. So. Okay, we're starting to get kind of close. We've had this axe head on and off of this handle probably 8 times, and we're beginning to get a little bit close. Now the way that you're really supposed to seat an axe head is, I usually kind of just get it up on there just a little bit, and then you're supposed to hit it on the bottom of the handle, and just the weight of the head will actually drive the head up on the handle, and it'll seat itself that way. So we're going to find my hammer here. You should really have a heavy wooden hammer to do this. I don't have one because there is the possibility of splitting that into that handle, but we'll just see what we can do here and how close we can get. It's very close. You can see it just about to come out the top. I would like to get it up out of there about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch if possible. So I've got a little bit more to take off. Okay, here we'll go, our second attempt. We'll see how it goes. We're practically there. And I don't know if you can see, but one way of being able to tell is there'll be some little wood curling up. You would like to have that curling along the base of that head of that axe all the way around. I've got a little spot right there that's not, so I'm going to try just a little bit more and see if we can get it a little closer. All right, I think that's probably got it. All right, it's time to put the wooden wedge in, and it usually is supplied with the handle. But I've been using boiled linseed oil on all my axe handles and the wedges because I don't use wood glue. A lot of guys do, but I never have yet. But if you put the boiled linseed oil down in the axe where the wedge goes, and you soak the wedge with it, it causes everything to swell, and then it does not shrink. It's not like water where it will shrink away. It stays nice and tight. I haven't had a head come loose on anything that I've done yet using that system, but we will just put a little linseed oil on this wedge. Doesn't take much. Try to hit both sides of it there. And just try to get a little bit down in the axe itself. Alright, now one problem I have had is the wedges splitting whenever I try to drive them. So one thing that you can do, try to avoid that, is to use your old handle or another handle. Just lay right on top of that. A lot of times that'll keep it from splitting. If you just hit it with the hammer itself, man, you can bust them all to pieces. So you just want to, this is kind of tricky. Just kind of want to hold that right there. Give it a good whack. Now it's going to want to seesaw back and forth. So you kind of have to adjust for that. But you just keep driving that down and keeping a close eye all the time. You don't want to go too far with it. We're getting very close. One thing you can do when you get to this point is I usually just use my knife and make a mark on it and then hit it another strike or two and see if that mark disappears. And it's really not. We're getting very close to the end. It might take it. It may take that whole wedge. That'd be a first for me. That's going to be it. That's all it'll take. Very, very tight fit. So you can kind of see how that wood on each side of that's pushed out, mushroomed out just a little bit. It's a good sign of a tight fit. So we will saw this off, make it nice and neat. Alright, we got the wooden wedge in, and I thought we would go ahead and try to place. I went ahead and cut that off. I like to leave a little bit sticking above the head of the axe. It seems to me like that if it's mushroomed out just a little bit above the head of that axe, it's going to be more apt to stay in there. So we will go ahead and drive these step wedges in, and I'll probably angle them just a little bit because they're a little bit wide for this axe. So we'll do as close as we can to the center. Nice and tight. We'll do the second one the same way. Alright, there's the metal wedges in. And I found that if it busts the wood out on the sides, it really hasn't made a difference for me yet, so it's not really a big concern. Just kind of mushrooms that out that much more. So, alrighty, so the next we'll be treating the handle a little bit. Hey, thank you guys for watching. Catch up with you on the next video.